What's up, everybody? This is Matt Ferrara back again with Matt's Mocks 2.0 this time. Again, just wanted to welcome everybody back. I hope you liked the first go around. Like I may have mentioned in the first video, I want to keep doing these. You guys seem to like them. Again, comment always in the comments section or on Twitter. Comment if you want me to do personal ones for your team. Let me know if you like the guys that I drafted for your team. If not, if you didn't like them, just let me know. We have some fun conversations on Twitter or in the YouTube comments. So let's get right into our Matt's Mock 2.0 now. So we can obviously first start off with the news that the Carolina Panthers traded for Sam Darnold. Now, when you look at this draft board, you see Carolina at 8, and I originally pegged them a couple months ago trading up to get a quarterback. Now, some people may think, hey, they still can get a quarterback at 8 if one falls to them, but I'm going to be under the assumption that they have their franchise quarterback at least for a year or two. And if for some reason Darnold doesn't pan out, you figure it out a little bit later. But let's get right in, crack open this soda real quick. I know it's 11 o'clock, I think, my time right now. Let's get right into it. And here we go. So again, not really a doubt here that Trevor Lawrence is going to be the number one pick out of Clemson. Again, if there wasn't the rule in college sports that you needed to wait 3 years post high school graduation to get drafted, I think Trevor Lawrence probably would have been the first overall quarterback taken in this past draft over Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert and Tua, and probably the year prior as well. He's just that good. He's everything you could possibly want in a college prospect, especially at the quarterback position. So no doubt Jacksonville is going to go with Trevor Lawrence here. Now, obviously, again, with the Sam Darnold trade, there's no doubt now that the Jets are going to be going quarterback. Now, everybody seems to be saying Wilson, and I agree with that, and I'm going to lock in Wilson for them. But I am just a little confused why Wilson is getting a lot of love. He seems to be an electric throw over the football, shades of Patrick Mahomes, the fact that he can kind of throw from every arm angle, all that good stuff. He's very athletic, but similar in the sense to Jordan Love from last year, where he played at a smaller school. You never really got to see him in the limelight. He may not have had good guys around him, but he also didn't face the greatest of competition either. I'm pretty sure the only game I really saw of Zach Wilson's live was against Coastal Carolina, and they ended up losing that game. So a little, I guess, confused why all the hype is around Zach Wilson opposed to maybe a guy like Mac Jones or especially a guy like Justin Fields, who you see on the Draft Network's big board here is the 8th ranked player. So again, very curious to see who ends up being the best out of these quarterbacks. I would say outside of Trevor Lawrence, but we'll have to wait and see. Now going on to the third pick, we have the 49ers here again. They traded up with Miami. Uh they traded for from 12 to 3, and they gave up a 2022 first and a third, and they gave up a 2023 first as well to Miami. Now, for some reason, I initially read, oh, well, maybe they won't go quarterback. You're going quarterback. You're not trading up that much assets and that much draft capital to not get a quarterback. Now, which one? To be determined. Again, original reportings came out that it was going to be Mac Jones. Now, I don't really see it as being Mac Jones. I don't know. I feel like in Shanahan's system, yes, Mac Jones could thrive. I think any QB could thrive, but I think they may want to have a little bit more dynamic of a athlete, and I think they're going to go with Justin Fields here. Again, I think he's probably my quarterback number 2, but again, all roads seem to point to Zach Wilson going to the Jets. So we'll give Fields here to Shanahan. I think he would thrive in that system. Now, unlike my first mock draft, I didn't have really any trades in it. Now, it came out, I think just this week or maybe the other day, that Atlanta actually wants to or is hearing offers about trading out of that 4th spot. And also, there's some rumors that the owner wants to go quarterback, but the GM wants to go the GM wants to go quarterback, but the head coach wants to go another position. Now, this is an absolute nightmare, I think, for any organization because you hope that in a lot of these situations that could potentially alter your franchise, that there is some unison across the board with the decision makers. Now, if the rumors are true and there is a deadlock split, unfortunately, I would say the GM is going to have the upper hand here because the GM is the coach's boss. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. But I think this is where the New England Patriots make yet another splash this free agency. And even though, yes, they are getting QB4, I think this is a perfect opportunity for them to solidify their QB position because, again, I am not the biggest Cam Newton fan. Can he be all right with the amount of weapons they have around him? Sure. But I think they need a long-term solution at quarterback. And I think this may be the chance with the amount of draft assets they have and draft capital that they could go up to 4. So let's trade right here. So we got NFC, we got the Falcons trading with the Patriots. Now, obviously, you're swapping 4 for 15. I would say maybe they give up just because it's such uh a long ways away from 4 to 15. They give up a 2021 second rounder as well. Figure the first next year, and then we'll throw in maybe a third as well. So offer acceptance here says very likely. So let's send that in. Boom. Patriots accept the offer. And Belichick makes yet another splash. Now, here is where, again, they kind of tried the Trey Lance-esque quarterback with Cam Newton. Didn't really pan out. Yes, it's nice to have that kind of athletic ability there in the quarterback room, but at the end of the day, for what the Patriots do and what Josh McDaniels likes in his quarterbacks, I think all roads would point to Mac Jones out of Alabama being QB4 off this draft and the 4th overall pick. Now, Mac Jones is someone that was not really on anyone's radar prior to the past, I want to say maybe month. Even after that national championship win, he still wasn't the highest of praised quarterback. But I think this is a perfect situation for the Patriots and for him to go into a system that would cater to him. And the Patriots, again, the player profile of the Mac Jones was Tom Brady. So perfect opportunity for the Patriots to recreate that greatness that they had. Will he be as great as Tom Brady? We don't really know. We'll have to wait and see with that one. Now, here we have Cincinnati. And again, I prefaced this last mock draft with, hey, you can go Jamar Chase and have that awesome kind of sell some tickets, sell the story a little bit, reunite Joe Burrow with his favorite wide receiver in Jamar Chase, or you can get him that protection that he needs. Now, I would say that it would benefit the Bengals tremendously to go out and get Sewell. Now, the Bengals picked up Trey Hendrickson, edge guy in free agency, Mike Hilton, the cornerback, and Awuzie, another cornerback. So they didn't really do anything to that offensive line. So again, as much as I want to give them Chase, I personally can't. I feel like you have to go offensive tackle here, and I think Penei Sewell is without a doubt offensive tackle number 1 in this draft class. So we're going to send Penei Sewell from Oregon somewhat across the country to Cincinnati right here. Halfway across the country, I guess we could say. Now, this is where the Miami Dolphins are in a perfect situation. Now, their whole free agency and offseason so far has been, or needs to be, offense. Last year, the defense got a makeover. This year, the offense got a makeover. Now, free agency, they really haven't made any crazy splashes outside of getting Will Fuller, that speedy wide receiver. Now, a lot of people are very high on Kyle Pitts, as am I, but that 1-year deal for Will Fuller isn't enough assurance for me that he's going to be around next year. And now, say they get Kyle Pitts this year and Will Fuller doesn't re-sign with them next year, you're once again at a lack of depth and a lack of talent at the wide receiver room. So this is where I'm going to go with who I think personally is my wide receiver 1. And again, it isn't Jamar Chase. Again, I think he is an elite prospect. But when you think about game-changing players, you got to go with Jalen Waddle. I mean, with all the 40 times that we've seen the 4.3s, the 4.4s out of guys who are 250 pounds, if Jalen Waddle ran the 40 this year with how, I guess, inflated you could say it is, I feel like he would have easily been in the 4.2s. I mean, he is a dynamic, explosive player, and that is what this offseason is about for the Miami Dolphins. Now on to Detroit here at 7. So they obviously picked up Jared Goff in free agency with that trade with the Rams here. So again, Trey Lance is sitting on the board for them, but I don't think it makes the most sense for them for the number seventh pick. They also picked a Romeo Aquar edge rusher, and only on a 1-year deal. So you can say, hey, is there a need for edge? Yeah, probably, but I really don't see many great edge prospects in this whole entire draft. And we'll see in the later kind of high teens, teams might have a need for edge, but I really just don't see much value there. So for the Lions here, a clear need for wide receiver, and I think it's a perfect fit to send Jamar Chase out of LSU to Detroit here. Now, here we are back with the Panthers again. Getting Darnold now, since they basically don't have to get a quarterback, and I know Trey Lance is still there, but we're going to trust that Sam Darnold's going to at least get a year or hopefully a little bit more to kind of work in that Joe Brady system there over in Carolina. Now, the Panthers obviously they picked up Darnold, they picked up Hassan Reddick, outside linebacker, and they have DJ Moore. You still have Christian McCaffrey, and you have Robbie Anderson. But again, Robbie Anderson's he has 1 year left in Carolina. So again, that's not enough for me to not pick up a pass catcher. And that's where I think Kyle Pitts is a perfect fit for Sam Darnold and Joe Brady. Now you're giving that offense just an absolute plethora of weapons, and it's just a perfect fit for Sam Darnold. And again, I said this to a couple of my friends right after the trade happened that Sam Darnold going to Carolina is in a better system or better, I guess, better supporting cast than he had with the Jets. And the Jets had all this money and spent a lot of money, but still that offense, I feel like didn't really get much better. So again, I think Sam Darnold is going to be smiling ear to ear when they lock in this pick, and Kyle Pitts is going to be a nice safety net for him. I mean, what is he, 6'6", something like that? 6'5", 240 pounds, runs a 4.4 down the field. That's the kind of pass catcher you want. Now, this is an interesting pick here. Because again, Drew Lock is their quarterback right now. I'm not the biggest Drew Lock fan, but I'm also not a Drew Lock hater, I guess you could say. So seeing Trey Lance on the board for them kind of it makes you wonder a little bit. Now, in free agency, they had more of a defensive overhaul with Ronald Darby at cornerback. They re-signed Justin Simmons to a very large extension, and they also signed Kyle Fuller, cornerback, to a 1-year deal. So the defense got a little bit of a makeover. You're going to get Von Miller back. So what do they do here? This is an interesting one. Now, as much as I want to go quarterback, and again, they very well could, I see too many other needs, and I think that offensive line could use some help there, definitely. And then also, obviously, Micah Parsons is kind of staring at me too in the face, but do they need more defenders? I don't know. I mean, I guess we're gonna go. Let's think about that. Let's go with Micah Parsons. I think he would be a great fit to kind of be the successor to Von Miller. I think that would work out well for them because, again, I think pretty sure Von Miller has 1 year left on his deal. So you're going to kind of need to have a backup plan just in case he doesn't resign. I know Von Miller is getting towards the back end of his career, I guess. So let's lock in Micah Parsons there. Now, probably the quickest pick to send in besides Trevor Lawrence to the Jaguars and Zach Wilson to the Jets is cornerback for the Cowboys. I mean, you can't really go wrong with Surtain, J.C. Horn, or I'm pretty sure Farley shouldn't be too far down the board. So Caleb Farley, Greg Newsome are a little bit lower at 20 and 29 here on the big board. So, I mean, kind of pick your poison here. They're both absolute studs. I think anytime you have a guy from Alabama, there's a little bit more, I guess, pro-ready kind of prospects there. So I think Surtain, especially after his awesome pro day, is going to be a little more exciting as a prospect for the Cowboys to lock in here. So let's send them right there to Dallas. Now here we have the New York Giants. Now the Giants spent a ton in free agency. Got Kenny Golladay, their wide receiver one. They got a Dory Jackson cornerback to partner alongside James Bradbury, who was their biggest signing last year. They still have Logan Ryan. They still have Jabril Peppers. They still have Xavier McKinney coming back on his second year of his rookie deal. And they also got Kyle Rudolph from free agency too. So that defensive back room is honestly probably the best in the league when you look at it on paper. Will they play well together? We'll wait and see. But I mean, I would bet on them that they're going to be one of the best, if not the best, defensive back rooms in the NFL next year, especially with that Joe Judge kind of tough nosed defense. Now they got Daniel Jones, that wide receiver one that they desperately needed, and I know Devontae Smith is kind of staring at them in the face here. And not to take anything away from Devontae Smith, because I think he is one of the elite prospects in this draft, especially one of the elite kind of big four pass catchers. But I think now that you spent big money with on Galladay, and I know you still have Slayton and Sterling Shepard, who again, they're good players. They're not great. I think Devontae Smith can be a great player, but losing Zeitler in free agency, I think, really hurt a little bit. And you have Andrew Thomas, who maybe disappointed slightly as a Giants fan. So why not bring Slater in, possibly kick Andrew Thomas into guard or kick Solder, I would say, into guard from right tackle. So I would say go Slater, who people have argued that maybe he is the first or the best offensive tackle in this draft class. I don't think he is, but I mean, he's a damn good consolation prize for offensive tackle too here. So let's give the Giants and Daniel Jones some time in that pocket so his pass catchers can get open here. Now, this is a perfect kind of storm here for Philly to right their wrongs of past draft classes and miss wide receivers and get Devontae Smith here. And you pair up former Alabama players, Devontae Smith with Jalen Hurts here. I think that'd be also a very cool reunion here. So we're seeing two Alabama reunions, Waddle with Tua in Miami, and now Smith with Jalen Hurts in Philly. Now, this is another interesting pick because Justin Herbert obviously showed he has tremendous ability to lead the offense to score a ton of points. Now, the Chargers did not win by any means. They lost so many games kind of late in the fourth quarter. I mean, the one that sticks out in my mind the most, obviously, is that game to the Chiefs. That was Herbert's first start, and he did everything he could. That offense did everything they could. They spent very large in free agency on Corey Linsley, making him the highest paid center in the history of football. And they got Matt Filer, right tackle, and that they spent a good chunk of change. Not nothing too crazy, but he'll be a starter on that offensive line. So again, could you go Christian Darrisaw and just really try to build that brick wall? Yeah, maybe. But I think getting a guy like JC Horn here would be very nice for them just to kind of solidify that defense a little bit and solidify that, hey, when you go up against teams in the NFC West, like the Chiefs, like the Raiders, like the AFC West, excuse me, like the Broncos too, who all have pretty great pass catchers, maybe the Raiders not so much, but hey, you want to make sure that you have cornerbacks who can cover them. So I'll go with JC Horn here out of South Carolina to the Chargers. Now here we have the Vikings. It says the biggest team need is safety. So they picked up Dalvin Tomlinson, defensive tackle, and Patrick Peterson, cornerback in free agency. Now, Patrick Peterson's only there on a 1-year deal. So if you kind of pick up on what I'm kind of preaching here, the 1-year deals are not enough for me to not draft a great player at that position that you picked up a guy in free agency. It just you need some longevity insurance here. So just because they picked up Patrick Peterson on a 1-year deal at cornerback wouldn't stop me from getting a cornerback if a guy like JC Horn was still there. Now, I don't think they should reach for a guy like Greg Newsome or Caleb Farley or Eric Stokes, who a cornerback is a position in need. Now, I think this is a perfect time for them to take a offensive tackle. Give Kirk Cousins some more time. Give Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen a little more time to get open. And who knows what that offense can do, because you already know Dalvin Cook is one of the best running backs in the league. Now you give him some more holes too, and it kind of just it expands just everything you could possibly do on that offensive side of the football. So we'll go with Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech here. Now this is a situation where I think it's too good to be true to not take a quarterback here. Now, they traded out of the 4th spot, presumably to not get a quarterback, because if they wanted one, you would say, hey, we might as well pick one there. But They accumulated a ton of draft picks in that trade with New England, and Trey Lance is still sitting here on the board. And I know I referenced earlier that there were some kind of power struggles here on what to do. I think right now is kind of the best of both worlds here. You accumulated draft picks for the GM, and the head coach is going to have plenty of draft picks to work with. It's not going to be in the first round, obviously, but you're going to get a lot of draft picks the second, third to get other positions of need. And I think this is where kind of getting Trey Lance, it just makes sense here. I think if he's there at 15, I think that's great value. Him at 4, that's a different story there. So we'll go Trey Lance here, and it gives him Trey Lance more of a prototypical kind of running mobile quarterback. It gives him some time to sit under Matt Ryan and learn the ins and outs of being a pocket passer. So now you have a little bit more of a complete prospect in Trey Lance after he sits for a year or maybe 2 years. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, the Cardinals here again, another team that they picked up JJ Watt in free agency. I think that was a huge pickup for them. Anytime you could kind of solidify that the trenches there in football is always a positive. AJ Green really didn't do much for me. Again, he's an older guy. He didn't really do well last year. And Malcolm Butler, they picked up another cornerback, but again, on a 1-year deal. So nothing really kind of excited me that much. Now, unfortunately for Arizona here, this next pick might not be the most exciting, but I think it's going to be to their benefit. I think Elijah Vera Tucker, interior offensive lineman out of USC, is a great prospect for them because we know Kyler Murray can run. Unfortunately, we saw him running a little bit too much behind the line of scrimmage, kind of running for his life a little bit. So they definitely need to shore up that offensive line to make sure that he doesn't have to use his legs as much. I mean, the best thing about Kyler Murray and some of these mobile guys is that they use their legs when they have to. But if they don't have to and they could kind of keep them in the pocket and let Kyler Murray kind of eat a little bit with that cannon of an arm, I think that's of the highest benefit here for the Arizona Cardinals. So we'll go interior offensive lineman and try to build up that brick wall there on the offensive line. Now, Oakland had a pretty interesting kind of free agency. They traded their center to Arizona. They cut some guys, they let some guys go on the offensive line. They've still been trying to find that Khalil Mack replacement, and they picked up Yannick Ngakoue, edge rusher, to try to be that guy. And they also picked up Kenyon Drake, which is a kind of not an interesting move for Oakland, because why not get a guy like that, a good running back to complement Josh Jacobs, another Alabama reunion then between them two. But kind of interesting for Kenyon Drake why he would sign up to go there to basically be running back 2, and he's really going to be losing a lot of reps that he could be getting somewhere else. But hey, maybe he wants to kind of make a 1-year business decision, save his legs a little bit, and then try to be running back 1 next year. Now here it says that their biggest needs are offensive tackle. You see linebacker here as well. Now, Jalen Phillips, edge rusher, could be nice to partner up alongside Yannick, and they also still have Cleveland Farrell there, the first round pick from a few years back. Now, he hasn't really panned out too well, but I think there's great value here at the linebacker position, and that's where I look at a guy like Jeremiah Wusu-Kormo out of Notre Dame. I mean, so we got 6'2", 216. I mean, you get explosion. Like, he's a guy who's very versatile, kind of sideline to sideline linebacker who can pretty much do it all. And I think you put that into that defense with John Gruden, that's a guy that he can get behind, and he'd really love to have to try to solidify that defense a little bit. So we'll go with Jeremiah Wusu-Kormo out of Notre Dame not Oakland, my bad. The Las Vegas Raiders, excuse me. Again, selfishly, me being a Dolphins fan, obviously, this is a perfect opportunity for them, because you see their 2 biggest needs left after wide receiver are edge and running back. And right here, staring you in the face, you have Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama, and Jalen Phillips, edge out of Miami. Can't really go wrong with either pick. But again, when I'm looking at this draft and just kind of drafts in general, a lot of times teams get burned by reaching, quote unquote, for positions of need rather than top tier talent. Now, if they drafted Jalen Phillips here, the edge rusher out of Miami, I think he's a good prospect. But is he the 18th best player in this draft? I just don't think so. Now, this is where I think drafting Najee Harris is absolutely perfect for what Miami is trying to do down there in South Beach. Now, their whole system right now is RPO, run pass option. They don't really have the first letter of that, which is the run. And I think getting a guy like Najee Harris is the potential franchise running back to pair along with the potential franchise quarterback that you drafted last year with the 5th overall pick in Tua Tagovailoa. So I think drafting Najee Harris is a perfect fit for Tua, for that offense, and just for the Miami Dolphins as a whole here. And here we have Washington. Obviously, the biggest transaction they made was probably getting Fitzmagic down there. I think that was an awesome pick for them. They also got cornerback William Jackson, so that really shored up that already great defense. And says here again, they have a little bit of a need for linebacker. Now I know I'm not really seeing linebacker here, but a guy like Zaven Collins, again, another guy who is very versatile, and I think he's a little bit underrated in the terms of this big board, but I think he is a great player that will do awesome in any system that he's in. So we're gonna send maybe this is a little bit of a bold pick for me, but we're gonna go Zaven Collins at 19 to Washington here. Now here we have Chicago again. Andy Dalton's their quarterback. I don't really need to say anything more than that. They're desperately in need of a quarterback, but there's not really going to be any in the first round that makes sense for them. Now, let's just think about this for a second. They franchise tagged Allen Robinson for the second straight year. Allen Robinson really doesn't seem to be too fond of Chicago, and I think after this year catching passes from Andy Dalton and presumably seeing them fall, I would say probably bottom 10 of the league next year. He's not going to re-sign with them at all. So I think this is where you're going to see uh, wide receiver Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota go to Chicago, and I think that is a perfect fit for them. He's a great athlete. He's 6 foot or 6'1", ran like a 4.4 40, so a bit decently larger target who has that speed to go along with it. He's easily an outside receiver for them. So him pairing up with Allen Robinson this year may just be enough to convince him to stay. But if he doesn't, now you have that insurance plan to say, hey, listen, like we still feel good about our pass catchers in our pass catching room with Rashad Bateman there. Now going back now to Indianapolis, now another team that I think is pretty lucky in the sense that they're pretty well built. Now they got Carson Wentz and they re-signed T.Y. Hilton to just a 1-year deal. They have Michael Pittman over there, and they don't really have much besides that from a wide receiver standpoint. So again, I know looking at the big board, it may look like I'm reaching a little bit, but I just I see a glaring need here for wide receiver. Now, could they go offensive line? Yeah, but their offensive line is pretty awesome as it is. And I know like 3 out of the 5 of them are free agents next year, Quentin Nelson being one of them, but they have plenty of cap to re-sign pretty much all those guys. Now, I think seeing that T.Y. Hilton's only on a 1-year deal, he's more of that speedster kind of guy, and Pittman's more that taller guy, kind of outside receiver. I think this is a perfect situation for them to get Kadarius Toney here. Just an absolute explosive player. A little bit on the smaller side, 5'11". I mean, not too small, but as you see, let's look here real quick. Toney's an electric slot receiver who's continued to improve in every season. In Gainesville is much more satisfying than his size indicates because he's electric with or without the ball in his grasp. That is the type of guy you want in that offense with Carson Wentz that I think could really help out just the team as a whole and maybe kind of take that next step to beating the Buffalo Bills or beating the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs this year. And I think he could be the difference maker here. Now, again, it's like I see Tennessee, and they picked up Bud Dupree, outside linebacker in free agency. They picked up Danico Autry, edge rusher, and they picked up Janoris Jenkins, cornerback. So they had their fair share of defense in free agency. Now, looking at the prospects that are left here, and just the Titans in general, and again, the Titans lost Corey Davis. They pretty much exclusively use AJ Brown, but I don't see enough value here at 22 for them to take a guy like maybe Terrace Marshall Jr. or Rondale Moore. So maybe this is where we see the first edge rusher come off the board. And I know I just referenced that they picked up Bud Dupree, but Mike Vrabel loves that defense. So why not send them Jalen Phillips, edge rusher out of Miami? Here we go. Back to the Jets again. Jets had another pretty interesting offseason. Again, they picked up Corey Davis, who was like the first wide receiver taken from free agency, and they also picked up Carl Lawson, paid him pretty great money, edge rusher from Cincinnati, but they didn't really do too much else. Now, they tried to get Le'Veon Bell to kind of work out down there. That didn't really work out for them too well. So that's where I look at a guy like Travis Etienne and I think, hey, maybe I don't really know. They have Quentin Nelson there already, and I just referenced they have Carl Lawson there. Now they have Marcus May back there, but I think this is a situation for them where you see a guy like Trayvon Moehrig that, hey, maybe they could go safety, but I just with where they are with this pick, I don't really think I want to go cornerback. I'm not totally sold. Maybe we'll just go kind of make it easy, go offensive tackle, sure up that offensive line. I know they had uh Mekhi Becton, their first rounder last year at left tackle. Now maybe let's get a right tackle and make sure that the rookie quarterback feels safe in that pocket. So let's go Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle here out of Oklahoma State. Now, Steelers are up, and again, I don't really know what is in store for the Steelers in the future here. Juju re-signed on a 1-year deal. Let's see. That's about all they kind of did in free agency. I know they lost Alejandro Villanueva. He has got signed yet to another team, so maybe they'll pick him back up. I know TJ Watson for a very large extension, but uh they just lost Bud Dupree. So I think this is a nice situation for them to pick up a pass rusher, and I would lock in here. Let's go Kwity Paye out of Michigan. I think he's just a little bit more maybe fine-tuned than Azeez Ojulari, but again, I think it's more of a coin flip here, but let's just go with Kwity Paye for the heck of it. Now, going back to Jacksonville here, they picked up Shaquille Griffin, cornerback, Rayshawn Jenkins, safety, and Marvin Jones, wide receiver, where there's kind of three biggest uh, acquisitions here in free agency prior to the draft. Now, obviously, we already locked in Trevor Lawrence. Now, this is where I would say maybe let's think about this here. So they got a nice cornerback, so I wouldn't really go anything with that. There's really no offensive tackles here that kind of jump off the board at me at 25. Maybe let's give him Trayvon Moehrig here out of TCU. I think he's a versatile kind of probably captain in the making, center field kind of free safety here who could really let the defense do what they want. He plays single high safety if you need him to, and he's kind of the commander of the defense. So I think that's something that Urban Meyer is really going to love for the next 4 to 5 years with that rookie contract being him being a first rounder here. Now, it came out a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, that Cleveland had a meeting with Jadeveon Clowney, and that kind of fell through. So clearly, they're in the market for a edge rusher, and I think going the best edge rusher available here, Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia, it just makes sense. Now, the Browns are in a awesome position because their team is again very good, and they still have yet to had to pay Baker Mayfield. So their kind of way they built their team and the amount of great guys they have, and even large contracts they have with OBJ, with Jarvis, it's really awesome to see how that rookie contract with the quarterback gives them so much flexibility to make other moves and really shore up that team. And it really re-emphasizes that the window to win is when you have that quarterback on that rookie contract. Now the Browns picked up John Johnson, safety, further shoring up that defense. So that's what makes that loss of getting Trayvon Moehrig to the Jaguars a little bit easier to bear, is because, hey, you have another safety that you just picked up. So let's go with Azeez Ojulari here out of Georgia. Now, I don't know how wide receiver is not the number one team need for the Baltimore Ravens. It should be team needs 1 and 2, not 3 and 8 here. I mean, they need to get Lamar Jackson some weapons. I mean, they did nothing in free agency outside of get Sammy Watkins, who hasn't really been great or even good in the last 3-4 years. He may have shined a little bit when he was kind of the third or fourth option out in Kansas City with the Chiefs, but I feel like I could shine as a wide receiver with the Chiefs. So this is where you're going to see your first kind of, I guess, reach, maybe a guy, Terrace Marshall Jr. out of LSU. He's kind of been the forgotten soul over there because he's been overshadowed by guys like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. But this year there was no Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, because one was in the league and one was sitting out because of COVID and kind of getting ready for the draft. So Terrace Marshall really improved his draft stocks, showing that, hey, I could be wide receiver 1 if needed. Now, he's going to have some big shoes to fill over there in Baltimore because they do need a wide receiver 1, but I think he gives them the best shot out of these guys available here. He's the best one left to be that number 1 kind of bona fide wide receiver 1 there. So let's send him to Baltimore real quick. Now looking back at the big board here. So the Saints basically just picked up Jameis. They lost Drew Brees. He had a great career there. And it says here their biggest needs are cornerback, wide receiver, an edge, and linebacker. So seeing that there's kind of a good crop of cornerbacks here, I'm just going to go with the best one available, Greg Newsome, the second here out of Northwestern. Here we have Green Bay. So this says, again, offensive tackle, wide receiver, cornerback, interior defensive line. Now, they don't need a running back, even though I think Travis Etienne and Javonte Williams are 2 great options for them if they did. But they have A.J. Dillon, who they drafted last year, and they re-signed Aaron Jones to that nice 4-year deal. So there's really not too much there. Now, could they go cornerback? Yeah, but you don't. I really don't see it as much of a need. I think from an edge rusher standpoint, maybe that's where they go. But again, Jason Owa being what, edge rusher 3 or 4, he would be edge rusher 4. I don't really know. So again, this may not be the sexy pick here, but I'm gonna have to send them an offensive tackle just because you saw what happened when Bakhtiari went down, and I'm pretty sure it was Billy Turner. He filled that role pretty admirably, but Aaron Rodgers just needs a little bit of time. So anything you could do to shore up that if some guy goes down, 2 guys goes down, that you have enough depth there that he's going to have a little bit of time. He'll find that wide receiver. He's, again, why I think he's probably one of the best, if not possibly the best player in the league, is he makes everybody around him better. So I think bringing a guy like Samuel Cosmi to play offensive tackle or kind of offensive guard, and he gives them that versatility on the line to be a starter or kind of a fringe starter and maybe back up early on. So let's send him there to Green Bay to protect for Aaron Rodgers. Now, back to the Bills here. So again, it says biggest team need is cornerback, and I would probably agree because you have Tre'Davious White here, who was one of the best cornerbacks in the league, and then after that, there's really nothing great from a cornerback perspective. Their safeties, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, are kind of 2 of the best or one of the best tandems there that you've seen. I mean, Matt Milano, the linebacker, is awesome. You have just kind of a great tough nose, kind of in your face defense that always gets pressure on the quarterback. So, and I think they need somebody else to play either slot corner or cover opposite side of Tre'Davious White there, because they have Josh Norman there too. So having Josh Norman be on the outside kind of makes maybe a little easier for Caleb Farley to come in and play slot, and that really solidifies that already great Buffalo defense here. Now, rounding out the first round here, again, the Chiefs picked up Joe Thuney in free agency, and they paid him a crazy, crazy amount of money. Now, I think that they can learn a little something from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because Tampa Bay, their defensive front, and they're just the four guys that they had on the line was plenty for them to get pressure on the quarterback. So I think they need more guys like that to pair along Chris Jones and Frank Clark to ensure that, hey, we only need to send four, and we're going to make sure that we get plenty of pressure on the quarterback. We don't need a blitz, extra guys. We could just have them drop back in coverage. So I think that's where getting a guy like Christian Barmore, who I think is an absolute beast out of Alabama, to pair along with the already studs that they have on that interior defensive line there, is only going to help them out. And then it helps the linebackers out and helps the cover guys out. So I think that would be an interesting pick, but I think it would benefit them tenfold in the future, especially in the playoffs. Now here again, so Tampa Bay's front office deserves an award, and I know they won the Super Bowl, and that was an award enough in its own. But they managed with, it didn't seem like they had that much cap, but they franchise tag Godwin, they brought back Gronk, they extended Shaq Barrett, they extended Levante David, they re-signed Ndamukong Suh, they re-signed Leonard Fournette. Now, excuse me, it says here wide receiver is kind of one of their team needs here, and it says that interior defensive line. So that's where Barmore for them would have been nice. I mean, I don't really think they need any help in the edge category, and this is where a position in the draft where I think they get that running back of the future. Now, Fournette's kind of that 1 year to 1 year to 1 year kind of guy. I think they need a little bit more longevity there. So I think this is where you get a guy like Travis Etienne, who is that who has that home run potential every time he touches the ball. Now, again, this is where, being such a great team, these teams that pick, say like from the Packers, Bills, Chiefs, and Bucks, is that their teams are obviously pretty well built, and there's really not that many holes, and that's why it benefits them to just keep picking best player available. Now, these teams that pick in the high teens or just the middle of the draft, those are where they kind of always question themselves, hey, do I need to draft for need, or do I just draft best player available? And that's where those teams in the middle kind of either strike out or they strike gold depending on their plan. So this is where it benefits Tampa Bay just to go best player available, and that's where getting running back Travis Etienne out of Clemson to partner along Leonard Fournette being that hard-nosed guy, and then you have Etienne be the pass catcher, third down guy. I mean, I think that is a crazy, crazy prop, and possibly one of the best running back rooms in the NFL. And keep in mind, Tom Brady's still under center there, so they pick up him. That offense is only going to get better. And I already said before that the defense only got better too. So who's to say they're not going to win now another Super Bowl? So we're just going to recap this draft real quick. One sec. So we have Trevor Lawrence going to Jacksonville. We have Zach Wilson going to the Jets. Justin Fields going to the 49ers. We had a trade up from 15 to 4. The New England Patriots. We'll recap. So the Patriots traded pick 15, pick 46, and then 2022 first rounder and third rounder, all the way up to 4 with the Atlanta Falcons. And they picked up quarterback Mac Jones at Alabama. Cincinnati went Penei Sewell. The Dolphins had that Alabama reunion, drafted Jalen Waddle. Jamar Chase went to Detroit Lions. Kyle Pitts went to Carolina Panthers. The Denver Broncos took Micah Parsons. Patrick Surtain went to the Cowboys. The Giants picked up Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle. The Eagles got Devontae Smith. The Chargers got J.C. Horn, cornerback. The Vikings went Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle. The Falcons went Trey Lance, quarterback. The Cardinals went Elijah Vera Tucker, interior offensive lineman. The Raiders went linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. The Dolphins went yet another Alabama guy, Najee Harris. The Washington football team went Zaven Collins. Chicago went Rashad Bateman, wide receiver. The Colts went Kadarius Toney, wide receiver out of Florida. Titans went edge rusher Jalen Phillips. The Jets went Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle. Steelers went Kwity Paye, edge rusher out of Michigan. Jacksonville Jaguars went Trayvon Moehrig, safety out of TCU. The Browns went Azeez Ojulari, edge rusher out of Georgia. Ravens finally got Lamar Jackson some help and went Terrace Marshall Jr., wide receiver at LSU. Saints went Greg Newsome, cornerback. Packers went Samuel Cosme, offensive tackle. Bills went Caleb Farley, cornerback. Chiefs went Christian Barmore, interior defensive lineman. And Tampa Bay went running back Travis Etienne. Once again, thank you everybody for listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube. Obviously, I'm Matt Ferrara, one half of the Ice the Kicker podcast. You can also find us at Capson on our YouTube page or anywhere where podcasts are found. Again, please like the video before you watch it and let me know in the comment section or on Twitter. Comment below if you like what I did for you or who I picked for your team. And once again, keep joining me. I'll try to keep releasing these weekly, and let me know if you want me to do a little personal one for your team in the comments. Thanks again. Have a good one, guys.